I think so. There are two things we need to talk about. The first thing is, after the WWDC, Apple confirmed that both on the mobile web as well as the mail client, IP address will be routed through a proxy. So as we were saying, the true user ID, or actually the true user IP, will no longer be available. Now, this is one part of the equation. The other part of the equation is that the sign-on by Apple was introduced some time back, and was not only introduced as an option. Unfortunately, Apple keeps on enforcing policies, and what Apple is asking now is wherever you are introducing different means to log in, being this via Facebook login, Google login, or any other alternative way to log in and bypass the subscription system, you must include also the Apple sign-on. Now, the problem from a demand standpoint, right, from an ad tech ecosystem standpoint, is that even though the option is not defaulted, Apple gives an option to anonymize the email ID. Now, of course, it's good for the user, and I think actually multiple users will opt into that. But what I personally don't like is the position Apple is taking on enforcing, because in this case, there is really no logical reason why Apple should enforce such a policy to the publishers. We live in a free country, so I think everybody should be able to have an option, even developers. So with that aside, the ramifications could be multiple. Yes, in terms of alternative ID solution that we and any other ad SDK is potentially working on, this is gonna be potentially an impact. We don't know the extent of this impact yet, because we realistically don't see many hashed emails today. Given though the very aggressive advertising that Apple is running around privacy, which has become their main GTM strategy, apparently, so it of course leads me to think that in the long term, the distribution of hashed email could go tremendously up. I don't have an answer yet in terms of what this means for these alternative ID solutions, but definitely there is going to be some ramification on that extent as well. Now, the common thread, though, that seems very shared across both Google and Apple is the on-device targeting. So this is something that we have been seeing from Google with the Privacy Sandbox, and this is also something that Apple tried to push the ecosystem towards since last WWDC in 2020, saying you shouldn't rely on device ID, you should rather do device-level computation. It's also interesting because, as Casey was saying, with the changes that Google is now enforcing, what this means is that practically it should mean nothing. For the reason that if you are a good player, like InMobi is in this case, frankly speaking, whenever the opt-out was there, we will simply ignore the device ID. However, Google intentionally left this backdoor, meaning that even if there is an opt-out, the device ID could still be retrieved. And the reason could be all the way from attribution through, say, fraud checks, right? Apple didn't have to do that because, of course, they introduced IDFV, which is the identifier for vendor that could be used for at least fraud checks. Now, what Google is doing is trying to catch up on that. Google is notoriously 3 to 4 years behind when it comes to catching up on this policy from Apple in terms of privacy. But I think it's also intentional. It's not like Google doesn't evolve. It's just that Google is an ad network, right? So it's the primary revenue stream. But I will also say, while I absolutely expose the on-device computation and audience profiling, I must say that it's easy to propose that if you are a platform as well, right? So that's what Google can do, and that's what Apple apparently can do now, because hey, they have iAd and Apple Search Ads, and they have been expanding and doubling down on that revenue stream as well. That falls under the other line in their balance sheet. So with that, I think it's a very interesting time to be in this ecosystem. So let's see what's going to happen. But for sure, privacy seems to be the new keyword.